Hello.
Hi everybody, Manny here again, this time with the CY Models 100-inch wingspan Dauntless. Okay, it was quite an experience for the build. It was a great build, as always. Quality has always been there, never any issues with that. And for those that were interested about the eFill 76cc with the auto start, I'm going to explain that too as well. Okay, so we're going to start working from the rear of the aircraft, work our way forward, and then finally talk with the engine about the engine. Okay. All right. So with the rear, okay, just like most standard airplanes from CY models, the horizontal stab is detachable with two bolts that are underneath. All you gotta do is remove the covering. It's already pre-drilled drilled for you, so it has threads. Just put your bolts right through, and you're pretty much done. Of course, you gotta have that aluminum wing spar, mark it, drill so the bolts can go through. Now, the bolts that come with the kit, maybe about 4 threads too long, so you might have to just trim it off a little bit, so it'll sit the way it's supposed to. Okay. If we go towards the rear, right over here, this cover, you remove this cover and it hides the Tillerman for the rudder and for the tail wheel. You have 2 pull cables that go all the way through. There are no tube guides that are in there, so just put your wires through and then mount them to your servo and then put the proper tension, and you're pretty much golden. Okay, moving on to the wings. The wings are a 3-piece section. This is one section, then you have your center section, and then your other section over there. Okay, now what I want to explain, and if my partner over here can come this way, I'll show you what I did, and that's going to eliminate some of the mishmash that was in the manual, and I just simplified everything. Come this way. Okay, I'm just gonna lift this up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so when it comes down to the flaps and your dive brakes, okay, what they wanted for the dive brakes, you have 2 push rods. You have 2 push rods that go to a single servo through a large screw. Okay, that's fine, it works. However, if you're looking for a scale where when you apply the flaps, okay, you want the lower section of the dive brakes to operate along with it. Okay, you can't do it the way the manual does it. So what I did was something much simpler. Let me get my remote control so I can bring down the flaps so I can show you what I did. Okay, so for the flaps, if you could just show them the flaps, stand over here. There you go. That's one setting. Okay, it's one. Now it works as one single piece, and all I did was add a 440 push rod, which I cut about 45 millimeters long, measured, and drilled a hole so the push rod can go through. And I did the same thing to the other side. Okay, that eliminates that using 2 push rods going to 1 screw. You don't need that. Okay, and when it comes down to working the other flaps of the dive brakes, all right, give me 1 second. Let me figure out which one it is. It's D. Okay, as you can see, they work. It looks like I have to do some adjustments. All right, this should go a little bit lower. I gotta figure out why it's doing that. Okay, and that's much better. Okay, so they operate the way they're supposed to. Might be a little bit of binding in there. Okay, let's bring this back down. When it comes down to the inside, there's plenty of space for all the electronics. Okay, your fuel tank, all that stuff, and of course your receiver, your landing gear module, and I have a gyro stabilizer along with it in there. Okay, let me explain something about this along with the ESC for the electronic starter. Okay, with this, okay, it states a couple of things real quick. One is when it comes out to the ESC for starting up the engine, it has a servo lead that goes to the receiver to assign channel you want. According to the manual, you could pull the red wire out, the lead wire, okay, discard it, tape it up somehow, you know, secure it so it doesn't touch anything, and then you could use a dedicated battery. That's how I have it. Or you can leave it the way it is, run it through, and it'll run off the receiver battery. I don't like that because I like everything being dedicated. So I removed that wire, the red wire. When you get the manual, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, and it's a pretty simple setup. However, if you're using a Futaba radio and receiver like I am, okay, I don't know how it is on other radios like the Spectrum. I'm using the SBD5 and it doesn't like those channels. It has to go directly to the receiver. Okay, if not, the ESC won't recognize it and it's just going to beep and it's not going to work properly. So make sure it goes to like a channel 12 or something like that, which is what I did, and everything works fine. Okay, your typical ESC and electric motor, it has the small wires over here. Okay, what I did was I bought 8-inch extensions and I was able to mount the ESC inside and run my cables accordingly, and I didn't have any problems with that. Okay, watch where you step. Okay, as far as the e-fill motor, okay, I already ran it a little bit, kind of like breaking it in. It runs real nice. I noticed that the motor is just a little bit louder than the EME 60cc or 70cc that has its auto start. It's just a little bit louder, but other than that, it operates just as well. It runs real nice. I'm going to give you a little start just so you can see how well it starts. Okay, it does start up really nicely. It works just fine. It's just a little bit louder than the EME engine. Okay. One of the advantages that I can see is that as far as the bolt holes, if you have a DLE 55cc drill guide, it will work. Okay. You don't have to buy anything else. Just go ahead and drill out your holes and go ahead and mount your engine just like a DLE, like you would with your DLE. Okay, it's just fine. I'm using a Falcon prop on this one. This is a 23 by 10. With this, I'm only getting 6,600 RPMs out of it. The max RPMs is 7,300. So I'm gonna have to get a smaller prop so I can get a little bit more RPMs out of it. Okay, that's not a big deal. I'll go ahead and buy that. Okay, the idle is about 1,600 RPMs, which I did get to manage to get that. I haven't flown the plane just yet. Just did the break-in. The weather's not the best right now. It's on and off with the rain, so I decided to come out here and give this a little break-in. Okay, the plane is heavy. Without the lead ballast, this plane came in at 40 pounds even. It took about another 7.5 pounds before I got it to balance just right. So its total is 47.5 pounds total. It's a heavy bird. The e-fill 76cc is pretty much equivalent to your DLE 85. It has 9 horsepower. The compression ratio is 9 to 1 even, whereas the DLE 85 is 8.5 to 1 compression ratio. The only thing that the DLE has is it has about 200 RPMs more. That's about it. But this one has it's just very compatible. So I bought this engine to try it on this plane. Let's see what happens. This plane is not designed to be really a fast bird. That's why it's been known as slow but deadly. So I'm expecting this to fly somewhat slow, pretty much to scale. I'm not doing any 3D aerobatics with it. is mainly just to fly it in a scale manner. I also attached onto there from Legend Hobby the drop load, so I could actually drop my bomb, okay, which is already attached. So the only thing I have left to do is to swap out that prop, get a little bit more RPMs out of it, and take it up for a maiden flight. Other than that, the build was fine. It was great. I didn't have any problems. What I'm going to tell you now is, if you get this one, the CG is off in the manual. It's saying between 145 and 155 millimeters to your CG. That's completely inaccurate. I spoke to Chris about it, and he gave me the actual CG point. It is actually 190 millimeters, and you'll get your CG, and the plane will balance out without any problems. Okay. Other than that, the control throws, again, in the manual are off. I will start off with about 20 millimeters, 25 millimeters, and that should put you on point. You could also adjust your end points from there and make it smaller or more accordingly. Okay. It'll be nice to hear any comments that you may have about this. Let me know if you have any questions. Message me. I'll do the best I can to answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll point you in the right direction to who can answer your questions. Well, other than that, Chris and Cindy Hogg have been making it very, very difficult for me, because I just found out they're coming out with 2 new airplanes. One of them is the Texan, which is an all-time favorite of mine, and a Stearman. I believe the Texan is going to be 103-inch wingspan, and the Stearman is 110-inch. I got to see them on video on the internet, and those planes are just simply gorgeous airplanes. So they're making it hard for me to choose which I'm going to buy next. Okay, but either way, something's going to be bought. One or the other, not both. I can't do that. All right. Well, that's all I have. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop by or send me a message, and I'll do the best I can to answer you. Thank you very much, and happy flying.